Again, we are here with Avi Lipkin, and we are going to talk about his running for the Knesset. Avi, tell me, you have some party or bloc, and you are running for the Knesset.
Of my 7 books is about this political party called the Bijbel Bloc, or in Hebrew, Gush HaTanachi. Tanakh is the Old Testament. Jewish people and Christian people believe in the Tanakh, in the Old Testament. Christians believe in the New Testament, and Jews believe in the Talmud. But we agree on the Old Testament. So that's why I call it the Old Testament Party. And of course, the 2 most important commandments are love the Lord thy God, love thy fellows thyself, followed by the 10 commandments. And these things are not in Islam. This is a party for Jews and Christians. Now, one of the things I wanted to say, democracy basically means the rule of the people. I was born and raised in the United States of America. And you know that the American colonists waged an 8-year war with the British to get their independence because the British were charging them money taxes. The colonists were serving in the British Army. We were forced to buy British products. We, as an American, I'm saying. But the American colonists could not vote in London. The American colonists had no vote or any representation in London in the Parliament. And there was a revolution because the Americans said no taxation without representation. It was a horrible war, a very long war, and finally America received its independence with the defeat of the British Army. And all my life, 19 years of my life in America, I grew up with this idea that if you're born in the United States and you study in the United States and you pay taxes and you serve in the army, and it doesn't matter who you are, you have democracy, you have a representation. With the Republican Party or Democratic Party, you can be active, you can be president, you can do anything. I came to Israel, and firstly, I have to tell you, I belonged to a very nationalistic Jewish youth movement called Beitar, and Beitar was very right-wing. The Israeli political system, in many ways, adopted the European mannerisms. In other words, in the 1920s and 30s, you had a big struggle in Europe between the communists and socialists on one side and the fascists and the Nazis on the other side. And for example, in Italy in 1922, Mussolini won the elections and made Italy a fascist country. Hitler in 1933 in Germany. The Bolsheviks won in Russia. The socialists, primarily after World War II, had their success. But this struggle was, the mirror image of this struggle was the Jewish world. The Jews came to Israel from Europe, primarily, also from Arab countries. And there was a struggle between nationalist Jews and socialist or communist Jews. And the people who won were the communists and the socialists. Israel today, still very much, on the surface, it looks very democratic, but the civil service, the army, the foreign ministry, the police, academic world, media, all of this is controlled by socialists. And people like me are very, very much pushed out, excluded. And I was served for 2 years in the Prime Minister's office under Yitzhak Shamir as senior editor and translator. And there was a tender for my position. I won the tender, and I was supposed to get seniority and tenure. And I came and said, where's my seniority and tenure? I won the tender. I have an official position in the government. And they said, you will never receive seniority and tenure. We know your political views. You are fired. And I said, but it says in the law. I said, it says in the law, go to the law. So I demanded an internal investigation in the Prime Minister's office, and they vindicated me. They said, what do you want? I said, I want to go back to my job. They said, no, you don't. They are waiting for you. They will kill you. And so meanwhile, I had a Christian lady friend, a pen pal in Texas. We were writing. She said, you come to Texas. I will get you into churches and synagogues and radio and TV. And she did everything she promised. And this was 26 years ago. And so I began teaching in the churches. And it was also during this time that 1 million Jews and Christians came home to Israel from Russia, Ukraine, Ethiopia, other countries. When I moved to Israel in 1968, the Christians in Israel were the Arabic-speaking Christians. It's 2%. 1% is Catholic, 1% is Greek Orthodox or Russian Orthodox. Then came the Russians and Ukrainians. So now it increased from 2% to 8%. Okay, now the Israeli system, the parliamentary system, is very similar to the European system. So if you have 8% Christian population, it should be that 8% of the members of the parliament should be Christian. How many Christians are there in the Knesset? 0. There are no Christians in the Knesset. And actually, there are no Americans in the Knesset. There are no Argentines in the Knesset. I'm Argentine-American. And I see that there are only a certain type of Jewish people who are in the Knesset. Jews who came from the Soviet socialist countries, and Jews who came from the Arabic and Islamic countries. And so if we have 120 members of Knesset, 8% should be 8 or 9 members of Knesset. With the Jews who are married to the Christians, and now we talk about the Nuremberg Law. The Nuremberg Law was a Nazi law which said if you had 1 Jewish grandparent, you would be killed in the gas chambers. Okay. Of course, in Germany, there was something called Mischling, which were Jews who were part Christian, part Jewish, and they were used by the Wehrmacht and by the German, according to their needs, you know. But anyone who had no real value was killed. So the Israeli government said, if you have 1 Jewish grandparent, you can move to Israel, even if you are really Christian. So what happened was, from the 1 million who came from Russia, from the Soviet Union, 30% were Christians. So that's 300,000 people.
It's a lot.
And 100,000 Arab Christians, 400,000. And then you have 300,000 Jews married to the Christians or related by blood, with grandfather, grandmother, parents, whatever. So theoretically, today, my constituency is 700,000 people out of 6 million voters. So it's almost like 8–9%.
Yeah.
Okay. How many Christians are there in the Knesset? None. And I was in the Likud party all my life. I'm a Likud man by ideology. But the Likud had no Christian representatives. And I said, you know, it says in the Bible, it says in Genesis 12:3, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. Now, what is God saying here? God is saying that if a Christian comes to Israel, serves in the army, pays taxes, votes, and is married to a Jew or is part Jewish, he's blessing Israel.
Yes.
He should be blessed. So what happens to the Jews if we don't bless the Christians? If we curse the Christians, God is going to curse us. This is my religious faith as a Jew. I'm not a Christian, I'm not a Messianic, but if God sovereignly brings the Christians to live with us and they pay taxes and they vote, then it's important to bless them. Now ISIS is planning a new Holocaust for the Jews. ISIS is going to kill every Jew in America and in Canada and in Europe. You already see the French Jews fleeing.
Yeah.
And they're buying houses in Israel and coming. I was in Canada in 1999, and I received a testimony there from the Canadian police that the Muslims in Canada will kill every Jew in Canada, that the Muslims in America will kill every Jew in America, and in Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, all these countries where there are Jewish communities, the Muslims are cataloging the Jews for destruction. So today, our population is 6 million Jews, 500,000 Christians. But tomorrow, our population will be 16 million, because 10 million Jews and Christians are going to move to Israel.
Yeah.
Or they're going to stay and they're going to die in America, Canada, Europe. So we have to prepare for this massive aliyah, this massive immigration of 10 million people to the land of Israel. So I believe the Bible Bloc Party, which I'm founding right now, actually, our lawyers are working on this now. They have submitted it already to the government. We're waiting now 42 days for the approval. Our party will be the biggest party in the Knesset. I call this the party of the Messiah, because the Jews and the Christians together will receive the Jewish Messiah.
Yes.
Also, another thing, which sounds also completely crazy, people cannot believe it. God says in Deuteronomy 11 that our borders will include Lebanon. They will go from Lebanon to the Great Desert. Now, what's the Great Desert? Saudi Arabia. Yeah. Our borders will go from the Mediterranean to the Euphrates, which includes Syria, Lebanon, part of Iraq, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, maybe the Egyptian peninsula of Sinai. I'm not saying we should go and conquer it, but what I'm saying is that the realities will force us to expand because of ISIS. ISIS is going to destroy Lebanon. It's going to destroy Syria completely. Bashar al-Assad will be defeated. Even the Russian help is not enough. And the Christians will be annihilated, the Druze will be annihilated unless the Jewish people come to their defense. They will beg us to go into Lebanon. They will beg us to go into Syria. And in the end, we will have to do it. And we will have 10 million immigrants from the West. So the borders will expand, the population will expand, and you know, I hate to say like I'm a prophet because I'm not a prophet, but I really feel the Messiah is not far away. And Jew and Christian together will go up to the Mount of Olives and look at his hands.
Yes, that's biblical.
Yeah. And I believe in the Bible. I believe in God. I believe if he said it, we don't know the timing, but we know it's going to happen.
When do you start with your party?
Well, the party has been submitted to the Ministry of Justice electronically, and now I'm waiting any moment to hear that they've given the green light to submit it in hard copy form. And then from that moment, when we give the hard copy, in other words, a physical paper file with all the relevant documents, then it's 42 days of bureaucracy until the government says yes or no. Because they may say, no, we don't like the names or something, and you have to do it again and get it. So we do it again, get another. You have to have 100 names. We have paid the lawyer already the $36,000. You know, for the $18,000 is for the bond, and $18,000 is for the lawyer's fees. It's all paid. We gave him 111 signatures. You need 100, so I'm hoping that everything will go well.
But you have also political experience because you have done a spokesman. Right.
Right. I was a spokesman for the Israeli Army Reserves for 14 years, just a lieutenant. But we were given very, very good briefings by our commanders in the Army. And my job specifically was to give lectures, you know, to the visiting Christian groups and VIPs who came to Israel. In the Prime Minister's office, my specialty was the politics of the Middle East and what's happening in the Arabic-speaking countries. And of course, like I said before, my wife Rachel worked for 30 years as an intelligence gatherer for the Israeli government. So she knew the internal things that are happening in every country. Even to this day, with President Obama, you know, very, very private, secret things which were revealed in the Arabic language that only somebody like my wife could understand and know and then teach me about them. I love history. I love the history of all the European countries in America and Canada and Africa and Asia. The whole, and I'm a Sovietologist by profession. I'm a Sovietologist. I need my wife every time. And also a little thing, I was actually head of the Likud students at Hebrew University in 1970 for 1 year. So I have kind of a record, not necessarily a politically correct record, but like I said before, you know, at age 67, God has allowed me to stay alive, to do all the things I've done until now.
Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Till the next time.
Until next time, either in Holland or here.